We're just days away from Election Day. Yeah, we're there. Voters in New York City, New Jersey, Virginia, and California, they've actually already started hitting the polls for early voting. Among the notable races, New York City's mayoral contests, gubernatorial races in New Jersey and Virginia, and the special election in California over whether Democrats can redraw their state's congressional map as part of redistricting. We have nationwide coverage tonight. Look at this. CBS News reporter Jared Ochacher is at the CBS Broadcast Center in New York. You're the only one indoors, Jared. You've got the mayoral election you're looking at there. We'll get to you in a moment. We also have NewJersey.com political reporter Brent Johnson covering New Jersey's governor's race. WTOP's ace political reporter John Domen's covering Virginia's races, the ones in the Washington, D.C. area. And CBS California correspondent Julie Watts following the vote for Prop 50. All right, Jared, let's start with you. You're following the elections in New York City. How competitive is this thing with less than a week to go? There's been no indication so far this is a nail biter, but what are you seeing?
Well, Scott, I'm self-conscious now that I don't have a Halloween-themed tie, but I'll get right into it. We are a week into early voting right now, and we've seen around 400,000 people who've already come out to cast their ballots. That number is going to go up today once we get today's numbers in. It's day 7. Just want to contextualize here with the latest polling information that we have. We know of 4 different polls that have come out this week. All show that Zohran Mamdani has a strong double-digit lead over his opponents Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa. Now, these are unique candidates with unique platforms, so voters have already made up their minds and they're eager to get out to the polls and cast their ballots. I also know that some locations across the city that are casting ballots today are giving out stickers that are Halloween-themed that let voters know that they've cast their vote. So that may be an extra incentive that we see here.
Anybody changing their message or have some 11th hour pivot in what they're arguing on the campaign trail?
So as I just went over, these are unique candidates with unique approaches. So they are sticking to unique approaches here in the last few days for this election. Zohran Mamdani, he's always been up in the polls as we've seen the last few weeks, but he's urging his voters and supporters not to get complacent. I was at that rally over the weekend with AOC and Bernie Sanders, and their message was not to get complacent. That's what Bernie Sanders and Mamdani told people there. That comes from canvassing and phone baking. This has been super effective for Mamdani's base, touting the over 90,000 supporters and volunteers that have gone out to neighborhoods to get the message out. That's something that he plans to stick by and says is going to help him win this election. On the other hand, Andrew Cuomo, he's touting some pretty big endorsements that he's gotten. This week, former Mayor Mike Bloomberg came out and supported him officially, even though he's been giving money over the last few months and words of support. He gave his official endorsement this week. Also, across the aisle, Republican Congressman from New York, Langworthy, I spoke with him today. He said that while he's had his disagreements with Cuomo in the past, he thinks that Cuomo is the best chance to come after Mamdani and the threat that Langworthy says Mamdani poses as democratic socialism, and he says that Cuomo is the best option to take him down.
Jared Ochacher, keep hustling, keep working. Thank you very much. Let's turn now to New Jersey. NJ.com politics reporter Brent Johnson's there with us, the very well-read Brent Johnson. The polls have fluctuated a little bit, I suppose. Anything you see that's changing the trajectory before Tuesday?
No, well, the poll, we had a flurry of new polls yesterday, and they all show that Democratic Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill still leads Republican former state Assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli. It depends on how much, though. Some polls show it's a 1-point race. She's up by 1. Others show 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's really, but she has led in almost every poll along the way. The question is, can he close the gap, and is it going to stay that way? But right now, it's a very close race. And of the 4 governor's races I've covered here, it's definitely the most heated and the most tight.
Is there any final pitch that changes for Mikey Sherrill? Is there any pivot in the last hour of what they're arguing?
Not really. Basically, Sherrill is saying that she is the best protection against Donald Trump's administration because the economy has been tough on New Jerseyans and that she would be a bulwark against Trump because Trump has endorsed Jack Ciattarelli. And he has said, this is a New Jersey race. I'm focused on New Jersey. But he's also praised the president and said that we need change after 8 years of Democrats being in charge, and now it's time for Republicans to take over. But the big X factor is Donald Trump, and whether he's going to juice up the vote for Ciattarelli or pull some independents and moderate voters away from him.
Trump aside, you saw this 4 years ago. This race got real close. for New Jersey's governor's mansion. Different issue set outside of Trump than you saw 4 years ago?
Well, it was a different race 4 years ago. We were still in the middle of the COVID pandemic. Trump wasn't president at that time. It was the year after Joe Biden won. And Cettarelli was not endorsed by him, nor did he seek his endorsement. Trump wasn't as much a big player in that race. And some would argue that maybe that's what cost Cettarelli the election, or that it was just a different time. But either way, he came within 3 points of nearly upsetting Governor Murphy. And that's been weighing heavily on Democrats here, who are kind of nervous about this race. They see they're up in the polls, but they don't want to take anything for granted. And 2021 and what happened last year in the presidential race, where Kamala Harris won New Jersey, but by not as much as they thought over Donald Trump. So there's a lot of things at play here and a lot of things on Democrats' mind.
Good work as always, Brent Johnson. Thank you very much. Going to pivot now to John Domen, who covers politics in the Washington, D.C. area. He's from WTOP. John, this race in Virginia is happening during a government shutdown. What impact is that having on that race?
Well, when you think about how the president statewide in Virginia, the polls that have been out this week show him underwater in that regard. And there's such a massive federal presence in the Northern Virginia area. And I think sort of the way that that could really impact the governor's race is if you think about 4 years ago, Republican Glenn Youngkin won not because he won the Northern Virginia region. He didn't. But he lost by less than what previous Democratic governors had come away with at that point. So the fact that he narrowed the margins and then carried the more Republican-leaning areas is what propelled him to victory. Now there's so much turmoil in the Northern Virginia region and a lot of unhappiness with the president in that region because of the Doge cuts, the shutdown, everything else. You figure, I guess, conventional wisdom would have that as sort of juicing the Democratic turnout. And some of the polling has shown things like democracy and that sort of thing being big issues in Virginia, though some of the polling also mostly from regions outside of here. So they haven't really polled the shutdown actually itself and who they blame for that sort of thing.
Well, in 2021, when you covered that governor election, education seemed to be such a big issue. What was going on in the schools coming out of COVID? What were the rules in schools, vaccines? We hearing any of that? Or is this simply Trump, shut down, Trump, and shut down?
So from the Democratic perspective, it is all about Trump. They've been tying Winsome Earl-Sears to the president. And even though he has not really been all that big on her after she sort of, I guess, lost interest in, or maybe not lost interest, but she lost faith in him a couple of years ago and now is trying to win that back. And it hasn't proven very successful at this point. From the Republican side of things, a lot of it has been similar to those culture war issues. Maybe not education so much, but trans in schools, that sort of thing. It has been a big culture war focus at the governor's race, also in the attorney general's race, though obviously there's been some other issues that have cropped up with that as well. But for the Democrats, it is all about Donald Trump. Every email I get, every press release, that sort of thing, campaign statement, a lot of it connects the Republicans to Donald Trump in Virginia. And he's just statewide, he is not popular in Virginia. In some regions, very popular, but statewide, he's not.
In the region in which we live, John, the good people of Maryland and the District of Columbia have had about enough of the Virginia political ads. What's in the candy bowl behind you? It looks like it's overflowing.
There's a lot of Twix, some Snickers, Three Musketeers.
Nice.
Not as many Twix as there was when the bag was opened by my wife today, but
It's a good choice.
what can you do?
John Domen, thank you very much. Appreciate you giving us some time tonight.
Happy to be on.
Well, we had some technical issues with Julie Watts in California. She was the one outside, so I'm not sure if there's a high windstorm or some other issue, but our Prop 50 coverage will continue on this very important ballot issue in California. It will continue Tuesday as part of our special election coverage anchored by Major Garrett. It begins at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS News 24/7.